In his New Year speech, President Bola Tinubu promised to fight every obstacle that impedes business competitiveness in Nigeria and reiterated his administration's priority areas, including national defense, internal security, job creation, macroeconomic stability, investment environment, human capital development, poverty reduction, and social security. The president also highlighted the steps his administration has taken to improve the economy and boost agricultural production, increase national productivity, and set the country on an irreversible path to prosperity amid plans to maintain the January to December budget cycle. For more analysis on this afternoon, I'm being joined live from Ilukpeju here in Lagos, the president of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa. Compliments of the season. It's good to see you, Mr. President, and congratulations on your new role.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right there. Well, let's get to business. Of course, LCCI immediately came up with a statement after President Tinubu's New Year speech to identify some specifics. But let me ask you, what's your overview of that document, that 41-paragraph speech read by the president? What do you make of it? A lot of pointers there: agriculture, sustaining the economy, improving power supply. But let's talk about those that really affects the business environment. What comes to you, or what pricks you in that document read by the president?
Well, we said in our statement, the budget speech was very positive. It had a lot of positives that resonates with what the business community was expecting. The emphasis on improving the business environment, the work that needs to be done on power, the work that needs to be done in agriculture, a lot of effort to be put in expanding land agriculture with direct effort by the federal government. These are the things that the business community were looking for and have seen. We hope that the pace of implementation will match the volume of commitment in financial resources that the budget has indicated. So that's pretty much the sentiment in this community, that those positives should be driven aggressively. The aggressive movement to auto gas for transportation, it is a very big positive. Every member of the Nigerian community, not just business community, we expect that we can quickly move to auto gas and reduce the cost of public transportation, since transportation is one of the major drivers of inflation next to food. So government has shown a commitment on food, on transportation, on power, and we think that if these decisions on the budget trickle down to all the agencies that will implement them, we begin to see some traction. First, in relief from the effect of the removal of the subsidy, and traction in actually growing the economy beyond this 4% that we are doing, which is not enough to have any impact on the common man, as we always say it. You need to move to a growth rate of between 6 to 7%, that everybody will begin to feel that really there's some growth in the economy.
I want to ask you specifically about government's plan to invest in MSMEs and support 75 manufacturing companies with 75 billion naira. Directly, what impact or what will be the implication of this on the entire business environment?
Well, it will have a little effect in the sense that, yes, you have 75 billion that will be trickling into the SME space, but the effect will be minimal. We have about 48 million SMEs in Nigeria, spread across the 6 states and the Federal Capital Territory. If you spread 75 billion across 48 million SMEs across 36 states, the impact will be minimal, but it is a step. It's a contribution to the effort, but we think that a lot more needs to be done before we begin to see an impact on growth. Because if you are able to get just 10%, that is 4.8 million out of the 58 million SMEs in Nigeria, to be able to employ one more person just by injecting this kind of, you will have created just about 5 million. So that's why it's so important that the scale of this intervention should be high enough to make that kind of impact. If it does not cover up, say, 5 to 10% of the SME population, it will just be some attempt, a little attempt. You will not see it in terms of impacts in the big picture of the Nigerian economy.
Now, another thing that comes to my mind is regards our FX. I know we've gone this road, but my question now will be in another form. We expect Dangote Refinery to receive the 4th shipment, so we expect that production should commence anytime soon. Let's peg it at first quarter also of 2024. And also Port Harcourt Refinery, where all the mechanization have been completed according to the NNPC, NNPCL, a bit of work is already even going on to test production. If this happens, we might reduce dependence on imports. Where am I headed? Our currency. If this, let's assume 50%, and we are doing 50% imports, we're doing 50% local, do you think it will impact Naira and Kobo, very importantly?
Yes, the industry players have said that there will be some impact, but it will be minimal, because these refineries will still be paying dollars or the exact Naira equivalent for the feedstock, the crude that they are going to use in the refineries. But there will be some reduction in their total cost. The cost of shipping crude to foreign countries to refine, the cost of bringing back the refined petroleum products to Nigeria, the cost of logistics in all our ports to discharge those products will be saved. So we might see some, maybe 10, 15% from the total current pump price that we are seeing. And as we see that kind of reduction in the pump price, a very large reduction in the pump price, the industry players have told us that. So we expect to see small reduction in the pump price. That also means in foreign exchange that is required will be reduced by about the same amount, because we will no more require foreign exchange to pay for the transportation of the crude abroad. We will not need foreign exchange to pay for the transportation back to Nigeria of refined products. So there will be small reduction in our foreign currency requirements for that business. So generally, the big benefits from these refineries is that we have guarantee of supply. With the shocks of scarcity will hopefully be out of the way. We will be able to actually earn some foreign currency by exporting. So the real big icing on the cake for Nigeria is if the big refinery is able to export some of the refined products. Nigeria ought to be a major foreign exchange earner from the export of refined products. That should be our major source of foreign exchange rather than export of crude. So we can get refineries, big one that is taking off, and the new refineries that are coming to join, be able to export a significant part of their refined products after meeting Nigeria's need. They will begin to see the real benefit of these refineries. The first benefit, of course, that we have kind of security of supply for those products. We have a small reduction in costs at the pump, and costs in operating cost of marketing companies. They probably will save some cost because the borrowing to pay for imported refined products will probably be lower than the borrowing to pay for refined products from our refineries that are just around the corner. So those small savings will come, and they should reflect, one, in the pump price, two, in the volume of foreign exchange that we are now consuming around the refined petroleum products.
Brilliant stuff there. Mr. President, so let me ask you about food security and affordability. I know it will be something you like to talk around because NBS last report, we see food inflation about 32.84%. This is scary. It's worrisome. With all of the efforts being made, all of the initiatives being embarked on, it seems like food price still continues to rise. As we move in 2024, let's assume you're advising government. You're part of most of these committees and will be sitting around that table. What do you think needs to be done? Once a man can feed, at least it gets better. Next will now be shelter and any other thing. But what do you think can be done to address this ugly trend?
You really don't need some financial experts or public policy experts on this matter. It's pretty much in the streets. It's in our face. If you're a farmer and you cannot go to farm because it's a life-threatening venture to farm, because the chances of farm being destroyed and the farmer being killed is very, very high in several states in this country, many of the states. So how do you produce food? And if you don't produce enough food, and the population of Nigeria is increasing, it's not reducing, you are going to have food shortages that translate into food inflation. So that's not really complex economic or political policy analysis that to advise government. It's just simply how do you make our farmland safe? The structure, the security structure now, we agree in the last 15 years it's not working. And we need to address the fundamentals of our security system. So once we address it and we have a sustainable security system that can keep the farmland safe for farmers to go to their farms and produce food all year round, you see food inflation coming down rapidly.
Let's shift to talk around the spending plan for 2024 because if we stay on some of these macroeconomic issues, we might not be able to touch on this budget. And this spending plan is so important. You agree with me. 28.7 trillion naira is what was finally signed. The president signed into law. And the budget is as good as it will be. Its implementation strategies. What do you think of this document and the breakdown? How feasible, achievable, the revenue targets and all of that?
Well, the revenue targets are pretty realistic based on achievements from last year. They're clearly the sources that have been identified. The essential concern is that the total figure, the ballpark revenue figure for Nigeria now is far below its punching power. We can generate a lot more revenue than that. And that is the fact that we are still dealing with as a country. How to raise our revenue to GDP ratio to figure that is more contemporary with what other countries are doing. And so essential effort the government is doing about tax fiscal policy is in fact more important than the total part of the revenue, because you can only spend in the case of Nigeria the revenue that is collectible and the borrowing that it believes it can still get. And of course, that's a big thing about our budget in the last few years. When you keep borrowing significantly, maybe 50% of budget is borrowing, and up until last year, we were spending about 100% of our monthly revenue to pay debts. We are hoping that we are getting out of this from the figures we are seeing now. But so the breakdown of the expenditure, there's a lot of effort to put more of it into capital, which again is very, very informing that the emphasis on capital expenditure is growing. But there's still a lot of concern about the components of the expenditure. How much are we giving to education, for example? How much are we giving to health, for example? Compared to how much we are spending on some other just infrastructure or renovation of offices, and pretty much recurrent expenditures of very large amounts, which a country of like the size of Nigeria really should not be accommodating. We are carrying far too much revenue expenditure just to run the government. At the last count, we have about 500 federal agencies, and many of them falling over themselves to do about the same thing. So generally, the expenditure, the whole basket of government expenditure can be significantly reduced and achieve the same results. Just by looking at various government agencies, what they are doing, what they are supposed to do, and why 3 other agencies are doing about the same thing, and you duplicate all the expenditures. You have the whole gamut of the CEO, advisors, all kinds of directors in 3 or 5 government agencies doing pretty much the same thing, just changing the names, and a lot of money going down the drain in that process. So that's the general concern, that the structure of government agencies is consuming a lot of the nation's resources. And it is important to take a very serious look at the number, structure, and purpose of various government agencies, so that we can begin to see a more prudent budget, a budget that really is much more money for capital expenditure, for core areas like education, like health, particularly primary health care. And these are areas that we think we should be seeing a lot more of our federal, states, and local government budget going into.
But before I let you go, I'd like us to wrap up on that, on this note. Many say that with the challenges we face, it's going to be in phases: short, medium, and long term. And some say from mid-year, there should be an agenda should begin to heave a sigh of relief, while things should begin to take shape. You're in the business community. With what you see, if it's business as usual, and if things are done appropriately, how they should be done, and we stand firm, what is your outlook, let's say short and medium term?
Well, the confidence of the business community that we should see some improvements are based on the traction we are seeing now. Almost every month, we are seeing auto gas stations being opened. We are seeing a couple of states rolling out gas-fueled buses. We are seeing more and more young people going for training for conversion of our petrol vehicles to gas. So if that process just increases, if we start having from just a few hundred buses on auto gas to thousands of buses on auto gas, which both the federal and state governments are all working on, then we'll begin to see significant reduction in transport costs, because transport is one of the second largest drivers of inflation in Nigeria. So we expect cost of transportation to come down as all these efforts continue. And so we expect that to be reflected in other areas. Of course, for currency as we reduce the expenditure.
We can return it.
Apologies for that, Mr. President, if you can hear me. Well, that is really a way. I want to congratulate you again. And in 1 minute, tell us what we should expect with regards to advocacy from the LCCI this year.
We are essentially continuing the effort to work with governments. We're very keen, and we continue to say so all the time, with the federal government and also with the Lagos state government. It's important for us to stress that we are here in Lagos, so we are very much engaged with the federal and the state governments on areas where we believe that the economy can grow very quickly, and where the leakages and distractions and disconnectivities in the economy can be addressed. The advocacy will continue to be pretty focused on that. We expect to talk a lot about power. We think that power and security are the major issues. So you can expect a lot of that from us.
I trust you now. Thank you so much, President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They're live with TVC News Business Nigeria. Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch as usual and have a great year.
Thank you.
Okay.